Hello, everyone, and welcome to the For People of Color Conference. We are all very excited to have you here. We wish we could be with you in person, but hopefully the virtual format will allow for more of you to attend who otherwise might not have been able to. As Katie said before, I am a second year here at UCLA, and I'm very honored to be a part of this program. This is the 21st annual For People of Color conference that we've hosted at UCLA. For People of Color was founded by Anthony Solana Jr., who was a UCLA law alum. Anthony was really dedicated to making the legal profession and law school admissions more accessible to students of color, and you'll actually be getting the opportunity to meet him as he'll be leading the application strategy workshop a little later on today. We wanted to take a second to thank Anthony for his leadership and his dedication to making today possible. The legal profession currently has a diversity problem. Only 5% of attorneys are Black, only 5% are Latinx, only 2% are Asian, and only 0.2% are Native American. This is a disproportionate number compared to the population in America. Our hope is that the legal profession can become more diverse. All of us organizing this conference really hope that all of you are able to come away from today feeling more empowered to apply to law school and feel that you all have the tools you need to succeed. A few years ago, I was in the same position as you. I actually had attended my first For People of Color conference at UCLA. The experience had a profound impact on me. It was one of the first times I got serious about applying to law school. The personal statement workshop was the first time I started to think of what I wanted my personal statement to be like and begun shaping that process. I also do not have any lawyers in my family. I did not know any lawyers growing up. So the student panel and the practitioner panel was the first time I really got to interact with people from the legal profession. It is my hope that today has as big of an impact on you as it had for me. I hope that you come away from today feeling like you know how to apply to law school and that law school is a viable option and a place where you feel that you could succeed. I just wanted to start out by giving a quick thank you to Katie, who really took the lead in organizing all of this and to make sure that today is going smoothly as possible. I also wanted to give a quick thank you to Student Affairs and the Admissions Office for providing funding for the ASL interpreters today. Just a quick note, we will be offering personal statement reviews. You should have gotten an email with the link. We will also be sending out a link again at the end of today's conference. You will have up to a month after this conference to submit your personal statement, and it will be reviewed by UCLA law students. I also wanted to mention that we will be raffling off a Test Max prep course, kind of a tongue twister, and we will be reaching out to the winner after the conference. You do not have to do anything special to enroll. Just by attending, you're automatically entered. Without further ado, I'll start out by introducing Dean Marti as your opening speaker. Dean Marti currently serves as the UCLA School of Law Dean of Student Affairs. Marti leads the UCLA Law Department and works closely with the dean and faculty on all aspects of student success and wellness. He also provides counseling in academic and personal matters to individual students and student organizations. Before joining UCLA, he served as the Dean for Student Life at the University of Michigan Law School. Before joining the University of Michigan Law School, he spent 5 years as the Executive Director of Admissions and Financial Aid at Villanova University's Charles Whitger School of Law. And before that, he spent 5 years as the Associate Director of Admissions at the University of Pennsylvania Law School. He attained his JD from the University of Michigan Law School. Please join me in welcoming Dean Marti.
Thank you, Emani. Really appreciate it. And good morning or good afternoon, good evening. wherever you are in the world. I'm really grateful to be here. I will start actually by saying bienvenidos, bienvenidas, bienvenidas, welcome. As Emani said, I am Bayrex Marti. I'm the Dean of Students at UCLA School of Law. It is an honor to join you, and I really thank the student organizers, Katie, Emani, and so many others, both for inviting me to deliver these remarks, but also for the incredible hard work they've put into developing this conference and doing it online for the first time. And it's really an impressive achievement on top of everything else they're working on as students. I was born in Philadelphia, where the US Declaration of Independence was signed on land that was once inhabited by the Lenape Indians. But I was raised in Puerto Rico, a territory that has, to this day, been deprived of self-determination and self-rule. Puerto Ricans cannot vote in presidential elections, our representatives cannot vote in Congress, and the federal government provides less funding for programs like Medicaid in Puerto Rico than it does in the States. But despite my awareness of US history and of US legal history, or maybe because of it, I decided to apply to law schools in the US anyway during my senior year at the University of Puerto Rico. I was admitted to the University of Michigan Law School, as you heard earlier, which is where I enrolled. When I arrived in the Midwest, I was a confident 21-year-old, but I was also really nervous. I was afraid. It was the first time I had lived away from my family, from my friends, my neighborhood, and my people. And not to mention that it was abundantly clear that that would be a major academic transition for me. And it was very difficult to find proof of my own worth within myself. Both my parents had been low-income, first-generation high school graduates who somehow made it all the way through medical school. I always viewed their journey growing up as a combination of sheer luck and intellect and drive and factors that I couldn't rely upon, at least not confidently. When I left home for the first time, the only home I knew, and surrounded myself with people who were frequently perplexed by my name, Bayrex, and by my skin tone. People who wondered if I truly belonged or if I instead was a mistaken product of affirmative action or race-conscious policies. The difficult days continued beyond my first semester of law school. The curriculum rarely addressed questions of difference or oppression. I was more often than not confronted with the choice of being, that student in the room who raises issues of race, or the other choice, which was to feel angry and disengaged after class because I had let a moment pass to bring up an important conversation. It was terribly exhausting, and I suspect is terribly exhausting to many of you to balance between white fragility and white privilege. It quickly became apparent too that my outsider status was going to manifest itself in other ways. I didn't really know the hidden culture of the legal profession. I didn't know when to apply for jobs. I bought my first suit ever, my second year of law school. I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know that you could request an extension or other exceptions to policies or rules. I felt guilty about being away from my family anytime I didn't get an A in a class because I viewed that as evidence that I had foolishly made unnecessary sacrifices. And trust me, I did not get a lot of A's in law school. But even doing well, even getting those grades felt like a hollow victory to me. As one of my favorite authors wrote, however perfectly we speak a foreign language, speaking it too casually feels like imposture. So the more I learned and became comfortable with law school, with its norms and its values, and yes, its language, I became more concerned with the person I was seeing in the mirror. Perhaps worst of all, I was proven wrong again and again and again, and not wrong in the obvious ways, which is in class. After a few short months, you actually realize that not many people know every answer, nobody knows every answer, that most law students perform confidence to disguise their fear or their anxiety, that law school exams are a bit of a crapshoot, and that 9 out of 10 questions in law school and in the legal profession are probably appropriately answered with, well, it depends. No, I was wrong. It was proved wrong in deeper, more uncomfortable ways. Law school, my classmates, they found my own biases and they revealed them to me. They showed me how I wasn't being consistently anti-racist. They exposed the privilege of my lighter dark skin and of my citizenship status. I witnessed my own gender-based prejudices. I had met an openly trans person for the first time in law school, and it was she who taught me that trans women are women, full stop. In other words, I was undergoing a transformation that highlighted my own need and my capacity for growth. But spoiler alert, this is not the story of a student of color who felt out of place and who failed to find community in a historically white, male, heterosexual, abled, Christian, affluent environment, which is the legal profession. One underrated aspect of being systematically excluded from one world is that you can find a whole other world within it in the company of others. Many student organizations in law school gifted me with upper level mentors, students who would guide me and reassure me. They intentionally created opportunities for us together to reaffirm our identities and traditions, to vent our frustrations, sometimes until late hours into the night. Student organizations like the ones who organized today's conference. The true value of these organizations, of my peers, was in reminding each other that our feelings were real, that they were valid, that it was okay to feel mad or uninspired or lost or unsure, that it was also okay to celebrate successes, to land a job interview, to make money and to send it home if we wanted to. There is incredible power in realizing you're not alone even when you are grossly outnumbered. Together, my classmates and I created not so much safe spaces, but what I've heard Sherry Keels call counter spaces. And counter spaces are those where students can recover from harm that they experience on a campus or in an organization, and they can create for themselves a genuine sense of belonging on that same campus or organization. Even beyond fellow students, I found mentors, supporters, and advocates in people like today's version of me, hopefully, law professors, administrators, staff, who looked out for us even if they didn't always look like us, who confronted us with hard truths, who connected us with opportunities we would have otherwise missed, individuals whose office doors we could close to be ourselves again, to let our guard down. I knew students who cried in those offices, we laughed in those offices, we would rant in those offices. We spent hours talking about their careers and our families. These were people who agreed and disagreed with us, who knew we were being trained as advocates, yet they patiently understood that we might sometimes misfire in an attempt at demanding change. My message to all of you then is to be skeptical of the legal profession, but to come in racing and to hang on to those who reach out to you should you choose this path. I say skeptical of the legal profession because the law is flawed and it's limited. Lawyers are often not the most important people in the room, especially when you seek to advocate for and partner with communities of color, and should strive to center the voices and needs of the marginalized individuals who are demanding specific results. Being a lawyer means you develop a defined skill set, and those tools won't always match up with what someone is asking of you. Lawyers are part of a small c conservative system, one that takes incremental steps and operates within general boundaries and rules. The law isn't revolutionary, and lawyers are not typically disruptive. With all that said, I still hope you will carefully consider a life in the law anyway. You are already being discussed in our legal systems, but as people of color, you are arriving late to the conversation because you were never invited to join it. In fact, you were told and made to stay out. The law largely continues to operate without you, and it is violent and it is enormous. Therefore, we need more lawyers like you, lawyers who fight for immigrants and refugees, who destroy pipelines between schools and prisons, who restrain corporate polluters, they reclaim environmental justice and healthcare justice. We need lawyers of color, especially women of color, running law firms and corporate legal departments, building intergenerational wealth, setting legislative policy across the country, and so on. The lessons of my own life are that law school is a tough journey, that certain days feel invigorating and rewarding, and others feel exhausting and demoralizing. I found the way through, a way forward, by extending grace to others and to myself, by connecting with those who came before me, either a couple of years before me, like other students, or many decades ago, like faculty, staff, and administrators, and alumni. If you start this law school journey, come at it with everything you've got. Never stop listening to yourself or trusting yourself. But when you inevitably face hardship or doubt, I hope you'll do what those who are now in power did before you and before us. They asked for help without shame, without embarrassment. Your future will not be undermined. It will not matter less just because it takes some time to figure it all out. Today's conference is called For People of Color because the legal profession and the legal system were not built for me or for you. Does that mean our historical absence from these spaces means we don't belong in them? No. It means we find our own way to be in them, all of us together. And as Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley remarked, I'm not here just to occupy space. I'm here to create it. So please create space. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful conference.